PK. Life's hard. It's like a cup of coffee. The coffee might be hot or cold, depends. How's your cup of coffee? What's happening? I can't remember anything. Something happened. Wait, what's happening? I feel lonesome and incomplete. Something is missing. What is it? What is it? Wait, I think I heard someone. What's happening? I'm just hearing things? Okay, I am done with this. I need to do something about this. Wait, I found it! I found it! I found the part of me that was missing. Wait, no, yes, no, hey, what's it in this computer? It's my photo narrative. Let me read it. Thesis: In the island of a thousand mirrors, Yasodhara and Saraswati have been severely affected by the civil war, which had led them to face a life filled with depression. Claim 1: There exists a relationship between the levels of CRH hormone and the war conditions, as the release of the CRH hormone tends to decrease. which had elevated anxiety and depression levels within Saraswati and Yasodhara. In the above picture, the brain is being crushed by the two ball-like structures. This picture resembles the idea of Yasodhara and Saraswati who have been mentally crushed by the traumatic situations that they have encountered due to the civil war. Due to these traumatic situations, their levels of anxiety tend to have reached their peaks towards the end of the novel. The above picture represents a woman who has placed her hands on her face, which resembles an extreme sense of trauma and depression present within her. The fire ripping through her skin resembles her emotions pouring out as she has reached her peaks and has lost the ability to contain them. The picture is relatable to how the levels of the CRH hormone in an individual decreases when there is an increase in levels of depression that one encounters in their lives. The above picture shows a young girl being terrorized by two hate-filled hands, and this act has made the poor girl fearful to show herself. The same idea can be applied to the lives of Saraswati and Yasodhara as they have a sense of uneasiness to become assimilated into their new lives after the traumatic situations that they have encountered. However, their lives resemble the depression faced by the young girl as they are frightened to overtly express themselves with the people around them. As the child, which is representative of Saraswati and Yasodhara, is exposed to these traumatic situations at a young age, it would deteriorate the stimulation of the CRH hormone, which would then lead to childhood depression. The above picture shows a young bird being stricken by the harsh rain, and the bird stays still even with this thunderous weather condition. The rainy condition can be related to the situations in which Yasodhara and Saraswati have been placed in due to the civil war in Sri Lanka, and the bird is representative of them being victimized by these situations. However, one could see that the bird is barely holding on to the wooden object, which displays its way of powering through the worsening weather conditions. The bird hanging on to the very last moment is parallel to Yasodhara by the end of the novel as she fights through her depressing situations and starts a new life. But Saraswati chooses to be the bird that falls off the wooden object as she has no options to return to her normal life. Claim 2. From the perspective of Yasodhara, the story ends with the death of Lanka, and this had traumatized her as it had done some irreparable emotional damage which had created a CRH hormonal imbalance. The picture above is an individual walking alone on a track and is presented with a diversion at a particular point on a track. In the case of Yasodhara, she is presented with two ways to lead her life after the death of Lanka. The first way would include constantly being reminded of Lanka and getting depressed and lead a life filled with sorrowness, but the second way would be to forget about the situation and lead a normal life. This situation is representative of the black and white contrast in the picture, where the individual at the end of the track is black, but moving towards the white light, which is a sign of a positive change. This positive change in Yasodhara's life would be her transition and starting a new life with her husband by leaving the death of Lanka in her past. The skull covering on a human face represents the idea of depression and the ways in which it can cause irreparable damage in one's life. In the case of Yasodhara, however, the death of Lanka had played an important role in raising Yasodhara's depression levels to its peak and created a sense of abnormality in her life. In the above picture, there exists some skin in the neck region, which shows that one should try to fight depression till the end and try to not become completely victimized by it. This picture shows a couple displaying their sense of love, but on the other side there is an individual who has been hanged. This picture could be related to Yasodhara as she is presented with two options after Lanka's death, where she could either forget about the situation as a whole and lead a new life, or get emotionally disturbed by the death, which would create a severe pause in her life. This is a difficult position for Yasodhara to be placed in as she has equally weighted options, but she ends up choosing the option of starting a new life, which would help her in her recovery and in forgetting her past. The above picture shows an individual looking into a city filled with fog, and the background of this picture displays a sense of lonesome and loss present within the individual's life. This individual can be compared to Yasodhara as she is considered to be depressive and lost after the death of Lanka. She is presented with the opportunity of not pausing her life and moving on with her husband, but she is still confused to how this relationship might end up in the future. The sense of confusion present within Yasodhara's life is similar to the city covered with fog as the future ahead is filled with ambiguity. This ambiguity is a sign of CRH hormone imbalance, as her past life is filled with depressive situations, which is inhibiting her to look into her future from a positive perspective. Claim 3. On choosing the path of becoming a martyr, Saraswati's mental status shows how various stress management areas in her brain have been stagnated, and this had created a devastating turn in her life. The above picture shows a woman fighting against the three men in hats that have the body of a snake. This picture is representative of Saraswati trying to fend off the people that have criticized her after the rape situation for being spoiled. However, when Saraswati chooses the path of becoming a martyr, she is considered to accept her defeat against depression, as she has lost the hope of fighting it, as she is unable to think of a solution to bring her life back to normality. Hypothetically, if Saraswati had not become a martyr, she would not have been a victim of the depression and would have had a normal life with the conclusion of the civil war in Sri Lanka. This picture displays a child's mouth. Inside of it is the child's face with the same open mouth, and these facial figures keep on going forever. This chain of images of the young child's face is symbolic of the aspect of depression containing an individual's mind, which would lead them to becoming victimized by it. However, this idea presented by the picture is comparable to Saraswati's rape situation, as her mind is contained with the idea of getting criticism for getting spoiled. But this situation could have been better if the parents of Saraswati had been supportive to her after the rape situation, as it would have prevented her from getting victimized by this situation. The above shows An enormous bull-like figure that is staring at the individual with its glowing eyes, and the setting contains a dark jungle covered with fog. The individual is similar to Saraswati's character, as the society is looking down upon her as she had brought disgrace to her and her family with the rape situation. The bull-like figure in the picture is similar to the people that have criticized Saraswati for the events that have occurred in the past, as she stands alone, similar to the individual in the image, staring into these traumatic situations with a sense of depression and confusion. The above picture represents a sad young girl, but her facial expressions are controlled by two hands and some makeup, which represents her happiness at a superficial level. This image portrays a common facial expression of depressive individuals, as they tend to display themselves as being happy on the outside, but are heavily victimized by depression on the inside. In the case of Saraswati, however, she considers the idea of becoming a martyr as a potential solution to her situation, as she is being bold and strong with this suicidal thought. However, the idea of becoming a martyr shows that audience that she is not a bold individual but a weak one, as she is accepting her defeat in the fight against depression. Claim 4. After her rape by the soldiers, Saraswati had been both physically and emotionally scarred in her life, which had led her to a path of depression due to the inactivity of the CRH hormone. In the above image, the individual's face contains certain abnormalities with lighter colors present in the center of the face, and there is a mixture of yellow and red present in the background. The distortions in the face and the white color in the center represent the ways in which depression can alter your personality and create a sense of emptiness within you. This image can be compared to Saraswati, as she had a change in her personality when she joined the Tigers after her rape situation. The personality of Saraswati had changed from calm and studious to violent and hate-filled, and this had displayed her sense of depression. The facial distortions and the color changes are representative of the altering personality of Saraswati, as the idea of depression had turned her into a new person. As the abnormalities tend to arise within one's personality, the closer one is to becoming victimized by depression. The above picture shows an individual holding a mask, and the mask is slowly being broken down into small pieces. This picture tends to portray the idea of how creating a counter-personality is considered to be temporary, and utilizing this personality to overcome depression is detrimental to one's life. The black clothes and background in the image represent the deepest, darkest past of the individuals that face severe depression. The idea of hiding one's personality and replacing it with a superficial personality is considered to have more consequences. Similarly, in the case of Saraswati, she assumes that her brave and bold personality would help her to cope with the stress regarding the rape situation. However, this new personality had drastically increased the amount of stress on her, and this had placed her in the path of becoming a martyr. The above image shows a girl under an umbrella with a black and white color contrast, and the background is filled with rainbow-colored stripes. The girl under the umbrella represents the idea of depression and ways in which it can be contained within an individual and separate them from the people that they are surrounded by in their day-to-day lives. The girl in the image is similar to the character of Saraswati, as she is present under the umbrella of depression with the rape situation, but this is blinding her from identifying other ways which would get her out of this depressive state. The above image represents a man staring at a person who is considered to be dead. The above situation shows how the idea of death is considered to be one of the final stages that depression can lead an individual into, and this could be devastating. The situation is representative of Saraswati's situation, as she is only presented with the idea of becoming a martyr by the end of the novel, since she sees no viable ways in which she could get herself out of her depressive state.